様は天下のために必要な方なんです。だから絶対に生きてもらわないと、たとえ私の命に変えても。恥ずかしい。
面白い。
First of all, I wanted to apologize for the delay between videos, between a trip to Japan and being quite sick. I just haven't had the time to be able to post new videos onto YouTube. But I'm back now, and just in time to talk about Warriors Orochi 4, the latest Koei Tecmo historically themed brawler, which is just out. I've got a review of the game going up on digitally-downloaded.net as well, so I won't discuss too much about how the game plays in this video. Rather, I wanted to talk about this particular sub-series because it's probably one of the lesser-known Warriors sub-franchises, but it's one of my favourites. Warriors Orochi is a pure fantasy, first up, where Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors stick reasonably close to the real historical events of Chinese and Japanese military history, respectively. Warriors Orochi takes the characters from both Dynasty and Samurai Warriors and throws them into purely fictitious battles. The monstrous Orochi, as the name of the game suggests, is always at the centre of each title in the series. Now, with that being said, Koei Tecmo doesn't forget its historical roots entirely. Orochi himself isn't a made-up figure for a start. There's a character called Yamana no Orochi in Japanese Shinto mythology, and if you see a picture of it, it will be immediately familiar to you if you know your Greek mythology. Orochi is an almost carbon copy of the Hydra from Greek mythology. It's an inspired choice for the beastie at the centre of the narrative because, firstly, it's, this big, powerful thing, of course, so it makes sense to be this intimidating creature. But in tying the game, however, loosely to actual Japanese mythology, Koei Tecmo has given itself free creative rein to indulge in a fantasy's tale, while still basing the series in something familiar and real to fans of Japanese history and storytelling, and being able to base the game in something that is real and recognisable is an important part of this overall franchise across the many titles that there's been over the years. You'll see plenty of people dismiss Warriors Orochi 4 as being a button masher. That's such a predictable complaint of the series. It's never true, and I kind of genuinely question how much of a game a person could have played to draw that conclusion. But that's a debate for another day, really. What's really impressive about Warriors Orochi 4, and what I wanted to talk about in this video briefly, has nothing to do with the combat at all. It's actually the story. What I found most impressive of all is how the game has 170 playable characters, and yet still gives every single one of those characters a respectable role in the plot. One of the great things about the Warriors franchise is that everybody has their own favourite character when they play it. And the idea of writing a story that involves such a ridiculously large ensemble cast of 170 characters, and yet still make sure that each player feels like their favourite character in that list got a fair slice of the pie, that could not have been an easy thing to do. In order to achieve that, Koei Tecmo recruited a man called Yoshitaka Murayama, the creator behind the Suikoden series, to write Warrior Orochi's 4 narrative. And that was a really good choice of a writer, because obviously the Suikoden games have very large ensemble casts themselves, so there's that experience there. The way that Warriors Orochi 4 makes sure that it keeps bringing back characters once they've been introduced to give them a chance to have a voice. It's often subtle because the storytelling is quite minimalist in its design, but it's woven together with such genuine mastery. And furthermore, while the story itself is fairly simple fantasy stuff, it offers one heck of an intriguing narrative nonetheless. For example, the very first chapter spins around the character of Nobunaga Oda, who appears to be very much a villain at the start. But then the confrontation rolls around, and what's actually going on is revealed to be something very different. And I'm not going to give any spoilers away here, of course. The story then leads on to something even more grand from Nobunaga Oda, and so on and so forth. So in other words, it's a real page-turner of a game. The other question I've had a little bit regarding Warriors Orochi 4 is whether it's the kind of game that a person could enjoy if they haven't played many of the Warriors games in the past. That's a fair question, I think, because the games are very character-driven, And you've got to ask yourself, if I don't know who the characters are, am I really going to be that invested in the story and so on? I'm quite split on the topic. On the one hand, I do think you absolutely would enjoy Warriors Orochi more if you go into the game knowing which team of 3 characters you'd like to take into battle as your main trio. So you pick 3 characters for each battle, and of course you can change between characters at will between battles, but you're better off, at least for your first run through the narrative, sticking to the same team as much as possible so they can level and be of the right level of experience in line with the battle that you're up to at that point in time. If you haven't played the previous Warriors games, you're probably not going to have that sense of which character you want to take into battles straight away. So, and you also won't get that kind of little moment of joy when your favourite character joins your team, as I did when, for example, Gracia joined my team. That was a really that was a good moment because I'm a big fan of Gracia character. So, having those characters join your team is a big part of the experience, and you kind of miss out on that if you're not already a fan of those characters. But that being said, one of the reasons that people have favourite characters in the Warriors series in the first place is that the characters all have their own distinct look and style. And if Warriors Orochi 4 is your first game, for example, you would come out of the other end with a favourite character for sure anyway, because you'd find designs that you like and you'd find character names or whatever that you liked, and you would just end up picking them and sticking with them. And because the writing is so on point, each character has their own distinct personality reflected through the story too, so you get a good sense of the differences between them, and then when you were to go and play a Samurai Warriors or Dynasty Warriors game afterwards, you would then have a better sense of the characters that would be your favourite from Warriors Orochi 4. So I don't think it's too big a deal in the end, and I think people who haven't played a Warriors game in the past can still get a real kick out of Warriors Orochi 4. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about for my short video. This is only a complement to my review on digitally-downloaded.net, which is going to be nice and in-depth, so I encourage you to have a read of it, and all my work is worthwhile then. But I'd like to thank you for tuning in and listening, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Hopefully it's not a couple of months away like this one was, and again I apologise for the delay in getting videos up on the channel. Thanks very much, and see you at the next video.